Hey, good evening from Jerusalem. We just finished our Segways tour. We went all the way to the top of Jerusalem from the outside and saw the most beautiful scenes. And as I'm sitting here in the holy city of Jerusalem, we've had so many remarkable encounters and bumped into people that we know their grandparents, or they lived. I met someone who lived in Newton who just made Aliyah, and someone who had this remarkable story and that remarkable story. And it's just amazing because, you see, the Baal Shem Tov tells us that nothing happens by chance. Everything in our life is because that's what God intended and wanted. In fact, the Baal Shem Tov tells us that a soul could come down to this world for 70 or 80 years just to do a favor to one person. You never know what that favor might be. In this week's Torah portion, we read about the Kansipor. The Torah says, Ki karei Kansipor. If you happen to pound a mother bird with the baby, lo tikach ha'em al abanim. First send away the child, and then only then. First send away the mother, and then only then, because you take the child. And the word ki kareh means if it happened upon you. But the word yikareh, if you pronounce it differently, could be yikreh. It's a calling from God. You see, because either you believe that things happen by something, maybe a big bang, or by someone. But if you believe that things happen by someone, then someone does something only for a purpose, for a reason. And therefore everything that happens to us in this world is for a reason. And that's why the word mikreh, which means a happenstance, also comes from the word, mikreh comes from kara Hashem. God called. And what's it telling us? That everything that happens to us, every encounter is for a purpose. And the truth is that that's the month of Elul. We're at the month of Elul now, where we are going to look at each other and ourselves in the mirror and say, are we living a purposeful life? Are we making sure that every encounter we have, every story that happens to us, every person we engage, every time we're late or we miss something, every time our passport is expired and we didn't realize, that we recognize it's for a purpose? And are we living a purposeful life? Are we doing the right thing? And that's the story of the Chodesh Elul. That's the month we're in. It's a month of introspection. It's a month when we think about all these things and try in the best way possible to make sure that we're living full of purpose. And I got to tell you something. When you live a life of purpose, of meaning, then everything is important. Everything is infused with purpose and gives you the strength you need, and it gives you the fortitude and excitement you need to do the things you have to do. Just like yesterday when I met the guy in the pizza shop, and he happened to tell me a story of the guy who gave him his kidney without knowing him. It wasn't by chance. It was to remind me and tell me and make me notice that even when we think that there's crises, and even when we think there's hate and animosity, there's also stories of happiness, of beauty, and of encouragement. There's a story about this kid who once comes into the store and he asks, can I use the phone? And he gets onto the phone, he calls a number, and he tells the woman, hey, could I cut your grass? So she says, no, on the phone, I have someone that cuts my grass. So he says, please, I'll do an excellent job. She says, well, the guy who does my job, my grass, does an excellent job. Sorry. He says, listen, I'll do all the weeds. Everything, I'll make sure that... He says, well, the guy who does it for me does all the weeds and everything. He says, please, I'll make sure to also water everything. He says, the guy who does it for me does that also. And he hangs up the phone. And as he's walking out, the owner of the store says, I'm so sorry you didn't get the job. And the guy smiles. He says, why are you sorry? I have that job. He says, if you have that job, why did you call? He says, I called because I wanted to check in and make sure I'm doing a good job. And that's the story of the month of Elul. It's a time to check in and make sure that there's no mikra, there's nothing that happens